Hello everyone, my name is Arielle and I am so excited to be here today. I'd like to thank you for joining this session and I'd like to thank Women in Tech Caribbean for having me. I will be speaking about how beauty pageants helped my career in ICT, so let's jump straight into it. I'll begin by telling you a bit about myself. Again, my name is Arielle Khan. I am employed as a business data analyst at Digicel Group. I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science with first class honors from the University of the West Indies, and I'm currently pursuing a Master of Science degree in software engineering from the University of Trinidad and Tobago. I am a delegate in the Miss Universe Trinidad and Tobago 2022 pageant, and I'm very passionate about connecting with and empowering young women in STEM fields. If you'd like to reach out to me after this talk, you can find me on LinkedIn or on Instagram at the handles shown here. So I just gave you all an elevator pitch. Within less than a minute, you were able to learn who I am, where I work, what I do, my educational background, what I'm currently pursuing, as well as some of my personal interests. You also have a method where you can contact me and get to know me more if you choose to do so. First impressions matter, and there are so many opportunities we have to connect, but we can miss them sometimes if we don't know how to represent ourselves and just what to say. This is one of the skills that I had to learn in my involvement in beauty pageants because I would meet new people almost every day, and I had that one chance to make a strong first impression. My hope here today is that I can help all of you advance in your respective careers by teaching you some of the transferable skills that I learned throughout pageantry, which took place before I began my career in ICT and really has helped me throughout it. Let's start at the very beginning. My first pageant, Miss Universe, which was in 2017. This pageant was the first time that I had to represent something bigger than myself. All of a sudden, I was no longer just Arielle Khan. I was Miss Faculty of Science and Technology, and I represented all of the students who were involved in that faculty. It was also the first time where I had to consider myself a public figure and accept all of the responsibilities that came with that. And it was my first stage performance. These are a lot of firsts for a teenager to handle. So by the time I got to first in my professional career, my first interview, my first internship, my first day on the job, it was a lot more comfortable and less shocking. So I would say the first takeaway here is to expose yourself to different firsts. Like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there and get out of your comfort zone because it would make future challenges seem a lot smaller. Some of the other skills that I would have gained by participating in pageantry include public speaking, interview skills, interpersonal skills, the ability to effectively manage my time, and how to create content on social media that is valuable. I was also able to learn how to be an ambassador, to participate in philanthropy, and to maintain my health and appearance. I think now we can begin to see how these skills can be highly transferable to any career that you're interested in. I'm now going to go through each one by one, and give you specific tips on how you can improve on these areas. You don't have to participate in pageantry to learn these things, but they can help you as you advance in your career. The first one is public speaking. There are some persons who are naturally able to speak confidently in front of a crowd, and there are others who may find it difficult. When I was younger, I fell very much into that second group of people where I found public speaking honestly a bit terrifying.
You will realize when you start your career there will be some level of public speaking involved. This could be a presentation to your coworkers, or depending on what field you're in, you may have to interact with the general public on behalf of your company. The first tip I would give is to know your audience and setting. If you are speaking to a group of women in tech, like I'm doing today, it would be different than if you're speaking to a group of preschoolers that you're mentoring. When you mentally know your audience and setting, you can prepare in advance for the kind of tone and language that you'll use throughout your presentations. Speaking of being prepared, you may find it useful to have notes and talking points instead of writing out every single word that you are going to say. Sometimes speeches are necessary, but if you just have talking points, it could come across as a lot more natural instead of just sounding like a rehearsed speech that you're reading off. You can also play off of the audience to kind of adjust and pivot as you're speaking. And to me, it just sounds a lot more natural. Another thing to keep in mind is your nonverbal communication. Now that you have your tone set and you have a general idea of what you'd like to see, you can be mindful of how you're standing, your eye contact, your body language in general, because it does play a part in how your speech is received. Always remember to project your voice towards your audience so you can be heard without shouting, and keep in mind that the persons you're presenting to are just that, people. So there's no need to be nervous. They are here to hear what you have to say, and I'm sure you will be well received. Another common forum where you will be expected to speak is during an interview. And luckily for us, a lot of the questions that are asked in interviews are from a common pool. So you can search for these online and you can have the time to prepare for them. In addition to having practice answers for the common questions, make sure you do your research on the company or organization that you're interviewing for. It is very helpful if you can include this in some of your answers to show that you are very interested in working for this specific organization. It's also helpful to look at the values section of their website or their community initiatives to see if their corporate values align with your personal values. And it's a great thing to be able to bring this up in the interview. It shows that your personality fits within the culture of the organization. Something interesting that I learned recently actually was to pretend that the panel knows nothing about you. And the rationale behind this is that sometimes when you're interviewing, especially with some higher level executives, for example, they may not have the time to comb through your resume in detail. So, an interview is the perfect opportunity to be able to sell yourself, your skills, your experience by telling them about you. You can also use this opportunity to tell them about experiences and specific stories that you may not have included on your resume. It's really a chance to show how you are unique and why you should be chosen over any of the other candidates who are also qualified for this position. Something that brings me comfort during interviews is knowing that the panel has pre-approved me to be there and decided that my skills and experience are compatible with the position. Now this interview is to determine if my personality fits within the structure and the culture of the company. So it's just a chance to interact with some persons and show off who you are, To me, interviews are actually pretty exciting, but if you get nervous, remember the same tip from public speaking. These are just people. They're interested in what you have to say, so take a deep breath and show off the best parts of you. A very important part of any career or any activity you choose to pursue is having interpersonal skills. And you'll see it a lot on job descriptions. Interpersonal and communication skills are required. This is because everyone you are interacting with is a person and they want to interact with someone who is pleasant to be around, someone who is positive, someone who makes them feel positive emotions. I always say people remember how you make them feel and not necessarily the specific words you would have spoken. So just keep in mind when you're interacting with a new person to make them feel something that's positive, whether they feel heard or liked or happy. This is how you would want to feel if someone were interacting with you. Of course, not every situation or interaction is going to be positive, but even if there is a conflict, you can still remain calm and be mature about the situation. You can listen to the other person and hear their point of view and try to reach a conclusion that includes a compromise that satisfies both parties. I personally love to be around people who see solutions instead of always pointing out problems. So, since that is something that I like to be around, it's something that I also try to be for other people. The key here is to remain authentic. You don't have to adopt personality traits just because you think it's what people would like. You can still be true to yourself by being just the best version of you. I think something people struggle with a lot today in our modern busy life is time management. But there are some simple ways that you can enhance the use of your time. The first one is by using a to-do list and calendar. So you can see a list of all of the tasks you have to do for a given day, as well as the events that you have coming up. I also live by the method of doing something to a rate of 99% complete in 1 hour instead of wasting a whole day trying to get to that 100% perfect point. The reality is that perfection simply does not exist. Another way that you have to develop grit when it comes to time management is learning to say no. When you say yes to something, you are ultimately saying no to something else. So having your priorities in check will help you to determine what to say yes to and what to politely decline. We live in an age of technology and social media use. And I think it's common knowledge that as a part of the recruitment process, employers are going to look at your social media. And I know you can say, okay, well, I'll just make my profiles private or I won't post anything that's extreme. But you would be missing out on an opportunity to showcase different aspects of your personality and your skills and allow employers to get to know you without even having to interview you. When I was accepted to be a delegate in Miss University T, we were informed that we had a requirement to change our Instagram usernames to have the MUTT abbreviation at the end of it. This would now become my brand for the duration of the pageant. But what I didn't realize before is that everyone has a brand. When we look at a person, whether it be in person or on their social media profiles, we make assumptions with them. We associate certain things with them. So now I realize that there is an opportunity for it to be curated, for me to tell people what I want them to know, to show them aspects that I want them to see, instead of just posting anything that comes to my mind and having that impression be accidental instead of curated. The use of social media can also go beyond the social aspect. It can go beyond making friends or acquaintances. It can be used to form professional connections. For example, I would have discovered this conference via a post on LinkedIn, but you don't have to silo professional communication just to platforms like LinkedIn. You can also use other platforms like Facebook and Instagram to show off aspects of some of the work that you're doing and to connect with other people. Remember at the beginning of this talk, I said that Miss Universe was the first time that I was able to represent something bigger than myself. Well, I'd like to make a correction to that because it definitely was not the first time. It was simply the first time I realized it because I had a sash across my chest saying Miss Science and Technology. But the truth is, every institution that I've been enrolled with, every organization that I've been involved with, I was an ambassador for that organization. Think about it. If you go out and you see someone wearing a school uniform or a company branded logo, you associate their behavior and actions with that particular organization. So, this is something to be mindful of, especially if we are wearing something that identifies us as an employee of that organization. One of the transferable skills that may not seem to have a clear link to our careers is philanthropy. But, regardless of our professions, all of us serve someone, whether it be our boss, our coworkers, or even external customers. I find it very helpful to adopt the practice of service with a smile because it just makes working a lot more pleasant. And it gives us a purpose to remember that we are part of a larger mission and a larger group of people, and our work does make an impact in their lives. Something else that I would have learned from pageantry that may not seem to have that direct link to my IT career is staying physically healthy. And not even only just physically healthy, but holistically healthy. But the truth is that when your physical or mental health is not being taken care of, it can be very difficult for you to fulfill your task at work. So, I think I mentioned before, having that time set aside for self care is very important. So, I'm going to emphasize it again. And I know most of us do not have that pressure of having an upcoming competition where there is a swimsuit segment, but you can still find ways to motivate yourself to be healthy. It's something that can easily slip when you have all of these other conflicting demands on your schedule. But even if it's just 15-minute exercises a few times a week, it can really improve your health as well as keep you in a focused mindset. Our physical well being does have an impact on our mental well being. So, I would strongly encourage you to find an exercise routine that works for you on your schedule. It doesn't even need to be the stereotypical thing of going to the gym or having like that set exercise routine. It can be something more casual, like going for a walk, participating in dance, like anything that gets you up and active. I would strongly encourage you to adopt that and make it a consistent part of your everyday routine. That covers physical health, but something that I want to bring a lot of emphasis to again is mental health. You cannot perform well at your job, or it's very difficult to perform well at your job when you are mentally stressed out or drained or depressed. So take care of you, whether that be engaging in some meditation or just quiet time reflecting on certain things, or even if it means that you need to engage with a professional therapist, whatever it takes to make sure that you are taking care of yourself mentally, prioritize it. Another transferable skill I would have learned is to be mindful of your appearance and how you present yourself to the world. Again, there's no pressure to be a beauty queen or to fit into any one stereotype, But it's important to keep in mind your personal hygiene. So that means taking care of your hair, skin, nails, your teeth, just making sure that everything is neat, and to also dress appropriately for the specific setting that you are in. Some offices require a more formal look, while others you may be able to wear something that's more casual, like jeans and t shirts. And there are also different days within the office week. So, for example, Casual Friday. So, you can just learn what environment you are in and dress appropriately and professionally to suit that environment. Keep in mind that you can maintain your personal and individual style. So, personally, I work in the IT field, and a lot of times I would actually prefer to dress up, and I'm not ashamed because that is who I am. So I just own that part of myself and just present myself in a way that is still professional while being me and being who I am. Okay, so at this point, we went through how to speak publicly, how to ace your interviews, how to use your social media for career advancement, as well as how to stay healthy and make sure that you have an appropriate and professional appearance. Now, let's learn how to use all of those different things to help you stand out. First of all, pin down what makes you unique. It can be a personal hobby or interest. Like, for example, for me, it is pageantry, and I did put that on my resume when I was applying for jobs, and in every single interview that I got, it was brought up. Because how often do you see an IT resume come across your desk with Miss Universe or whatever pageant on it? Not often. So it is something that's eye catching. And I was able to explain in those interviews all of these transferable skills that I'm talking about with you here today. But it can also be a more professional accomplishment. Did you work in a particular field of research? Did you work on a particular project that makes you unique and gives you experiences that other candidates may not have? You need to think about it, write it down, internalize it, so that when you are asked these questions in an interview or even in a casual conversation, you are armed with information that you can share to help you stand out. The reality of today's job market and existing in this working world is that a lot of people are going to have qualifications that are similar to yours. So you need to define, why should I be the person to get this job or this promotion or this opportunity to volunteer or whatever the case is? Why am I special? Why do I deserve it? And I know that it can feel a bit self centered to be thinking about these things, but you do need to be able to say these things to people when they ask you in an interview or even in a networking space. It's not selfish. You are simply advocating for yourself. So sit and think about what makes you unique. What are the things, what are the highlights that I want to share to the world and make known? So there you have it. 10 transferable skills I learned through participating in beauty pageants that have helped me in my career in ICT. Of course, we are all unique individuals with our own varied interests, so I just want to assure you that these skills can be learned from a variety of activities. I would encourage you to expose yourself to anything that you're interested in order to build these skills. And I invite you to get a piece of paper and participate in this exercise that I coined called Draw Your Own Crown. So this crown has 5 circles. In the center, you have your core, which would be your career goals or the field that you're working in. On the left, we have some outward attributes, and balanced on the right are some inward attributes. The outward attributes are more things that are obvious, things that you would talk about and work into conversations. However, the inward aspects are more things that you are working on internally or that people would realize about you from interacting with you, not necessarily you saying them. So after you write down your core or your career goal, on the left at number 2, I'd like you to write your top 3 skills or strengths. Things that you are proud of, things that you are good at, things that you can work into a conversation when you meet someone so they can get an idea of the value that you can bring and what you have to offer. On the other side of your career goal at number 3, I'd like for you to think about 3 areas that you want to actively work on improving. These are things that you're willing to dedicate your time to become better at. You may have some level of skill in them already, which is great, but you know that you are ready to take on the challenge of being better in these 3 areas. To complete the left side, we have number 4, which would represent your top 3 hobbies or interests. It's important, as I would have alluded to throughout this talk, to have those unique talents, those things that you do in your spare time that make you happy, that make you a more well-rounded person. It's important that we do not get caught so much in number 1 that we forget that we are allowed to have our number 4s and those things that we do for us. And anchoring out our crown on the right at number 5 is our top 3 values. These are the things that drive the rest of our behavior and sit behind our goals. It is why are we doing what we are doing and how do we conduct ourselves. It is according to these 3 values, and I put them on the inward side because you may not walk up to someone you don't know and say, well, my values are XYZ, but they are very apparent when someone gets to know you. They will understand what your value system is. So I'd like to share my crown with you. At my professional core, I know that I want to work in the field of digital transformation. I may not know exactly what role that would be in, and it's okay not to know right now, but I do know that I would like to participate in transforming a company's manual, tedious processes into something that's automated and very efficient. On the left, we have my top 3 skills or strengths. I listed this as time management, interviews, and written communication. These are the things that I would work day to day with, and I would emphasize as points where I can lend value. So if there is a task on my team that requires any of these 3 skills, I would be sure to volunteer because I know that I can add value to my team by demonstrating them. On the right, under my 3 areas for improvement, ironically, as I am currently delivering this talk, I have public speaking, overthinking, and confidence. And it is a bit awkward to share these things in a public forum, but I know that they are things that I am actively working on. So I'm trying to get over that fear and trust that I am in an environment that is supportive and filled with a wonderful community. So, of course, if anyone has tips for these areas, I'm very open to connecting with you all and sharing our knowledge. But yes, it's important to be very honest about these things and to also make a commitment to getting better at them. And moving back to the far left, we have my 3 hobbies or interests, which are cooking, beauty and fashion, and Latin dancing. These are the things that I do in my spare time, so things that I do voluntarily that bring me a lot of enjoyment. It's very, very important to have these activities that anchor you and that make you happy. So even if it's something that you're not actively engaged in, you can write down an activity that you really want to do or learn more about. Prioritize yourself. I've said this so many times, but it is important that you prioritize being a well rounded person and not just an employee. And remember to utilize these things. You're dedicating time to them, so you may as well have them do double duty by helping you to stand out in a work environment. You can also use it to make bonds with your coworkers, like find out who else in the office loves cooking. Maybe you all can share recipes. This enhances your interpersonal skills as well. So it is really killing two birds with one stone. And on the far right, in the final circle, we have my top three values, which are balance, progress, and service. For me, balance is having that well rounded life where I am able to manage my career, my family life, my interests and hobbies, along with my physical and mental well being. To me, a balanced life is a good life, so that is why I listed it as number one. Progress is something that is also very crucial to me personally. I know that I can accomplish some level of comfort and routine, but what drives me is the ability to be better than I was yesterday. I truly believe that my only competition, although I am in a competition with 23 other women vying for the title of Miss Universe Trinidad and Tobago, at my core, I believe that my only competition is the person that I was previously. So once I know that I have developed and that I am better than that person, I would feel like my value of progress has been fulfilled. And the last one is service. Sometimes it's very easy to get caught up in ourselves and our lives. And while it is important to give yourself that attention, there's a lot of fulfillment to be had if you focus towards serving others and how you can use all of your skills and abilities to help other people. So that is my third core value that drives everything that I am engaged in. I really hope that you enjoyed drawing your own crown, spending some time really getting to know yourself and putting it down on paper. Of course, these are things that are subject to change as you grow and develop as a person and as a professional. So don't be afraid to revisit this exercise and to tailor it with your group. Another exercise, and the final one that I would invite you to engage in, is just to complete this sentence. It reads, when people around me, I want them to feel blank. And I'd like for you to put in three words. When you are interacting with people from now on, think about how your words, your facial expressions, your body language makes them feel and tailor it so that it can hopefully make them feel this way. My three words are happy, empowered, and motivated. And I hope that after this speech, this is how you feel. I had this misconception that in order to make a difference in the world, that I needed to have an audience of 100,000 or 1,000,000 people. But the truth is that if you impact the life of even one person, that is making a difference. You don't have to carry the responsibility of trying to fix the world or save the world. You can simply try to make people feel happy, empowered, and motivated, or whatever your words are in your day to day interactions. And that is a power that every single one of us here today has. So don't forget it. And that brings me to the end of this talk on how lessons learned from beauty pageants can help your career in ICT. I want to thank you so much for your time and your attention and invite you again to connect with me on these social platforms. Now, please let me know what questions you have.